Well, greetings, fellow data nerds. I hope you're all warm and cozy and enjoying your fabulous lunch. We at Extractable are excited today to share with you, as mentioned, how you can use data to do some really interesting things in the creative space. Just for clarity, I'm Scott Briskman, and this stunning-looking gentleman is Simon. So if towards the end you have questions, feel free to shout out at us. Now, we're going to cover 4 lessons from the front lines of data-driven marketing today in this presentation. The presentation itself is going to be interactive. So if you wouldn't mind, make sure you have a little box that looks like this. There's a pen inside that looks like this. You guys all have one? If you don't mind putting down your fork for 2 seconds, we're going to do a little test to make sure that this thing is working. Hey now. Just for clarity, don't point it in my retina. You can point it in Simon's. That's no problem. So first question as a test is, are you a 49ers fan?
Good point. Come on.
Come on now.
Come on, we need more yeses. Come on.
All right. Well, it does not look like we have very many friendlies here, but that's okay. We'll carry on. We are 49ers fans. We're from San Francisco. Just a little bit about us. Our Center of Excellence is in the digital communications space. And for over 13 years, we've been in the business of crafting innovative digital platforms across all different kinds of touch points that are really focused on solving complex business and marketing needs. We have, we have 3 areas that allow us to do that we're focused on. One is being user-centered, the other is being data-driven, and the third is that we are focused on results. Today, we're going to be diving deep on what it means to be data-driven.
So this is a little photo of part of our lobby. We actually have these big screens throughout our office showing live client data. So these are live dashboards of live data. And we're very, take that data-driven piece to heart by having these screens all over and look at them all day. And whenever we see a little pattern or something, we can jump on it and really just keep reinforcing that we want to be looking at data for insight at every moment. Oh, and by the way, there's a few awards down there, but we'll ignore that. We also, because we're data-driven, we commissioned Forrester last year to take a look at how many firms are using a data-driven design process. They're using data in their design. And you can grab the full paper from our website. But there were some interesting things in this little infographic we put together. But what I thought was most interesting is sort of further down here, which was, why are people not using data? And there was an interesting couple of numbers here. Like 37% of the business stakeholders we surveyed were just ignoring the data. They had the data and ignoring it. Another 21 had too much data, and another like 20% had not enough data. So my calculations show there's only like 14% of these stakeholders who were in that Goldilocks position of just the right size of data and actually using it. So if you have data and don't use it, anyway. So this sort of inspires us a little bit just to really refine our own methodology. And I wanted to introduce kind of how we see data. And really, in most of the things that we're doing as an agency, or most of you are doing in terms of creating experiences, there's a pre-launch piece where you're building the thing, and then there's a post-launch piece where you're trying to optimize that. And so here on the pre-launch creation side, on inventing, that's the first stage. It's really trying to use data to get an insight that allows us to create a different experience or a different platform or a different campaign that is going to perform better because it's just better at the beginning. The second piece is design, and that's really just saying lots of little intricate details that we get from data that allows us to make each of the intricate details of the experience better. Once it's launched, tailoring is all about personalization, creating the most relevant and powerful experience for every single user that comes to the experience. And improvement is over time, really improving that by using data and learning and cycling through it. Here in the first phase, we do a lot of primary research, a lot of web analytics, session tracking, sales CRM, all the kind of big data stuff that we can talk about earlier on today, search social data, and a lot of user testing. We put a lot of prototypes in front of users because that's one of the best ways to see if they're actually going to like it. And then later on, some of the same tools again, but using personalization engines and some more dynamic pieces is often what we do. So that's a sort of theoretical model. Why don't we get practical and go to the 4 lessons that we talked about earlier on? So these are the 4 things we're going to do, and we're going to talk about little case studies in each of them. Number 1, challenge perceived wisdom. So, I'm going to use a little case study. This is Micron, so they're a big manufacturer of memory chips out of Boise. And so if you have a tablet or a phone or a computer, you have Micron chips in there. There's just no way you don't. They're just that big and huge. And we were working with them to redesign their web experience. So this is what it was like before we started. And as typical in a lot of these processes, we start by talking to stakeholders and just learning about the business before we get into the data. And during those meetings, a lot of the stakeholders kept saying to us, our big customers, so think for big customers for Micron, people like HP and Dell, that kind of size company, they kept saying, our big customers are not using the website because they have a dedicated sales team with engineers, everything working with them day to day. They're not using the website. And this was repeated to us many, many times. It was perceived wisdom inside the company. And we weren't so sure about that, but that was true. Yeah. So here's a question for you. Do you think their top customers were using the web or not? Come on, lasers, we need the answer. Let's see what you think. Oh, come on. It's heading towards false. OK, of course you're all right. But we dug into the data to try and prove this point. It actually took a while because it was a little messy. But then we did one chart and showed all of their customers and how often they were visiting. And this one chart caused a little bit of an earthquake inside the organization and changed what we wanted to do. It basically proved that their big customers are visiting multiple times every single day. So it led us to an insight. Customers were using the web and the sales team together every day, not just one or the other. So it led us to a creative spark. What's the idea that came from that was we could use the website to integrate all these channels together. So instead of them all being separate and going to market with different ones, we could integrate them and create a nice closed loop so when the sales guy could push content to the customer and they could come back and the website would be the communications vehicle for that. So this is where we ended up with the site. We created a completely new experience and had a lot of new features. But one of the things that was designed just specifically to allow that communication and turn it into something which was a utility and a tool rather than just being a marketing vehicle was, I think, called the Workspace. You can't see the details here, but basically it's a file sharing and collaboration tool built right into the site that allows you to share secure docs and allows the client themselves to also collaborate internally as well as with Micron. And that had a really nice pickup. So in this one, we challenged the perceived wisdom, we found some data to prove it, and we allowed us to create new utility that no one would have thought of if we hadn't found that bit of data. Number 2, listen to your users. And users are telling us stuff all the time, and we're ignoring it. So here's another good example from Micron as well. For search, their on-site search was pretty weak in the old version. So what we did was we went back and we listened to users, and we looked at I think it was 205,000 different searches that users had done over the previous year, looking for technologies, part numbers, this kind of stuff. And we analyzed it, we grouped it, we tried to work out what the intent of each of them was. And from that, we created a new predictive search tool that would allow from 3 or 4 letters to get right to a part number and really accelerate the user. So here's how it ended up. If I go here and I type MT4, that's just the first 3 numbers of a part number. And straight away, you start to see types of products that would be, and that would push users to a category page. As they type another number, MT41, it's got to be this DDR3 SDRAM. If anyone is into SDRAM, that's what that is. And then so part numbers, etc. And there are other types of searches. People would search for tools by the name of the tool. So instead of sending them to the tool, we just bring the tool up in the search box itself, so they can go straight to that tool. So this was trying to get to about maybe half people. We were trying to get half the users to use our predictive search. So here's a quick question. How many people do you think, once we launched this, started using the predictive search? So all the people that typed something in took a suggestion. Greater than 50% or less? God, you guys are smart. You keep getting the right answers. We need the wrong answers sometimes. Anyway, so more than 50%. The actual result was 89% of people were taking that. So we managed to take, we also doubled the number of people using search. So through that process, we now have a whole bunch of users that were accelerated to the right part with 1 click instead of 10 clicks, all because we did our homework on the data. So that's what we mean by listen to your user. And combined across all of the things we did for Micron, their main conversion metric, which was datasheet views, jumped about 300%. And this was so shocking to us because we were expecting 20 or 30% or something. We had to go back and redo the analysis 2 or 3 times to make sure that we hadn't missed something. Number 3, get sidetracked. I like this one, it's my favorite one. Have any of you taken the GMAT exam? question time. All the people with MBAs, go, point your laser. Come on. Yes, no, more no's. So the GMAT exam is the test you take to get into business school, and it's a large, complex, and difficult test. And we're working right now with the GMAC, which is the organization behind this, organized the test. This is their current website, and we're going to show you some work in progress, so you'll be the first to sort of see this. But the sidetracked example here, we were doing some user interviews and talking to users all over the world about their experience of going through the website and taking a test. And one of the candidates, we sort of went off script because she seemed really stressed and kind of upset. So we just had a conversation with her. And she said that she was stressed because she was trying to plan all the things you have to do to go to business school. You have to go to like 10 different, you have to apply to different schools. You have to write essays for each school. You have to do applications. There's dates associated with each one. There's payments associated with each one. And there's a lot of stuff to manage and planning. And she was using Excel and things to try and manage that. And that created a spark for us. Well, what if GMAT could help you with that? All the planning, because they had all the data. They know there's deadlines for all the schools, etc. So we thought, there's an idea. So what we did was, we got sidetracked with our interviewee. We went and took that idea and put it out into a big survey to see if other people thought that, and they did. Then we did a forecast of, well, what uptick could we expect in traffic if we do this, and what would it cost, so an ROI model. Then we prototyped it, and then we user tested it. So we're using all of these things to validate that sidetracked idea. And we went through a process of trying to create this tool. Here are a few early sketches of what that tool might be like. Went through wireframes and different types of experience of what a timeline. There's a lot of sophistication in the detail of this that it took a while to go through. And ultimately, we sort of landed on using a sort of a grid model, a bit like this one, to show different weeks and different types of different tasks you have to do on different weeks, and it controlled that way, and we tested this. And basically, this was going to be the center of a totally new experience for the GMAT website.
And so, as we work collaboratively on generating this concept, we then had to bring it to life with actual design. Make it something that if you, going from this to something new like this. Now, we have two things we had to achieve. We have to still deliver a marketing message, but we also have to be able to use the site to deliver an actual utility. So this is what this concept has turned out to look like. It's got little interactive boxes that actually grow in size as you're achieving certain goals and objectives, and it has a nice clean layout for all the information with links out to other resources that you're going to need.
Line review, and then having a specific categories of your timeline. That is really, that would have saved me so much time in my whole process, and I wish I had a program to help me with it.
So that was one quote from the user testing we did on the tool that we just finished. We went around the world. We did it in Shanghai, Delhi, London, and Philadelphia. And that was just one of many positive comments. So all of this potentially great new feature came again from one small conversation where we got sidetracked, and then we validated the idea afterwards. So get sidetracked when you're gathering your data is the lesson here. And finally, our fourth lesson for today is personalize or fail, I should put in parentheses here, to get results. What we find is like dynamic personalization of the web experience, whatever it is, in our cases that we've done, have ranged in uptick of primary conversions, 50, 60, 100%. And this means really just putting relevant content in front of the person in a way that they, they just think it's just for them. And that we get these big, big upticks in conversion rates. And I'll show you, we'll go through another quick case study to show you an example of this one. But before we get there, there's just basically 3 ways we personalize based on different sets of attributes. And it's really implicit stuff, so things like IP addresses and things that we can determine from data without knowing anything about the individual. Then there's explicit stuff, which is normally based off a logged-in type experience. So we have a profile of the person in some way, and they've said they're interested in X or Y. And then there's behavioral things. So what are they doing on the site? What content are they looking at? What time of day is it? Or what device did they come in from? So all of these types of things. And any one of these we can put a piece of content against and then personalize the experience. So here's an example of what we mean.
So Lockheed Federal Credit Union was looking to evolve and expand its brand in Southern California. And as part of that process, we worked with them to do a complete rebrand, not just in what the website and other digital platforms, but everything, all of their locations, and their materials. But what they came and they asked is, how can we need an idea that's going to be able to be fun and motive and engaging, but also allow us to deliver against the personalization goals that we had discussed as part of the project. So we invented a character, this cute little guy who basically personifies the brand and allows us the opportunity, as we go through all the different touch points in their universe, to be in different situations and to allow for us to have different messaging associated with it. He's also fun and cute and gives us a chance to make great progress in the overall creative aesthetic. This is what the website was, and this is what it is now after our redesign. It's a dramatic change, and one that was made possible not just in being smart in how we use open spaces, but more importantly that now we have this character that's giving us a chance to be different every single time you come in. Now, the website has a strip across the middle that provides functionality, which is access to all the core marketing and product information across all the different categories and services that they offer, as well as easy access to the actual banking products that they have behind credentials.
So in this example, our little robot is driving a car. The car's not there, but he has a steering wheel. And this is an example of a personalized version of the website. So most people coming in, it looks like just a different main banner that we've had, and you just, classic website, you rotate through 3 or 4 banners, and that's it. But actually it isn't. What we've done here is, because most of the conversion they wanted to do was to existing customers and upsell them to new products. So if you had most banks, they sell you a credit card, a checking account, a car loan, or a house loan. That's basically the product set. And in this case, what we've done is cookie the user when they've gone into their online banking based on their credit score and what product they don't already have. So this person coming back, the next time they come in just to check their online banking, they see a banner which is specific to something they don't have, i.e. a car loan, and things like the interest rate are based on their credit score. So they're just coming in, they just think they see another banner, but this is a highly personalized experience, and we have basically dozens and dozens of different combinations of banners and rates and things done dynamically based on who the user is, and this is upticking sell to existing customers. And then for the new customers coming in, we show things based on geography, like if they're close to a branch, we show where the branch is, and some of these kind of things to try and induce new customers through. But as Scott said, this character allowed us to personalize in a really human and kind of emotive way. So we've created lots of versions of him. Like this guy, he's going to be selling insurance. And then there's other versions that we're going to use for different banners and different experiences throughout the site. You can see he gets very carried away with his checking account here at the end. Calculators, and ultimately helping you sell your house. So another quick quiz time. Which one do you like the most, if you had to have one? Come on. Just purely creative, aesthetic, click on the one you like. Oh, come on. We've got to have a driver. Looks like driver to me. So there you go. So you all like the driver. But it's really just a lesson in, but if we can really personalize, we can get really good results and uptick. So this only launched recently, so we haven't got any long-term data looking at how well it's doing. But the initial results are that the engagement on some of these personalized banners and things is up quite a lot already. And we'll have full figures for it soon. So that was it, really. Just going through our 4 lessons. Challenge perceived wisdom. Listen to your users, get sidetracked, and personalize. If you can do all of that using as many data sources to both be, sort of the number crunching kind of data, and also the kind of data that allows us, to creatively come up with new insight and new ideas that drives new kinds of experiences. So that's it. Myself and Scott, our emails and Twitters and everything else are there. We have a booth outside. If you want to swing by and have a chat with us, we'll be there. And also, if you want a quick kind of look under the hood of your analytics, we're happy to do a kind of just, spend a day or two on our analytics team having a look at, web analytics on your website. And we might have some suggestions for you. May not, but we might have some suggestions. So we're happy to take a look at that for people for free. So anyway, that was it. Creativity inspired by data. So I think we have like 1 or 2 minutes if we have just 1 or 2 quick questions. And
any questions?
Point them at myself or Scott. Or not the lasers, though.
So I understand. That was a great example you gave of personalizing it based on the credit scores. Is it reacting to real-time data, or is this data that you have warehoused somewhere, and how dynamic is that personalized experience?
Most of it's real time, but I mean,
it's real time, but not like to the second real time. So each day they'll update in the online banking application, the back end, they'll update the credit scores, and then each time that user logs in, we check that. So they've exposed a web service to their back end that we just pull from that. So it doesn't have to be super real time because we don't have so many permutations and combinations, because it's always a trade-off between the more you personalize, the better the result, but the more you personalize, the more content you need, the more assets you need, the more offers you need, and you end up getting diminishing return on the amount that you invest in each one. So, and this one I think has like 20 or 30 sort of variants right now based on 4 or 5 parameters, something like that. But, we'll see how it goes and maybe get more sophisticated on that one.
Yeah, I mean, it opens the door for other kinds of real-time data personalization. I mean, the character is something that started in the online space and now has permeated all channels, and as content's created, whatever real-time data we can access in advertising and on the website is something that's an opportunity now.
Just to follow up, like, do you use a responsive design element, so if it comes in through a mobile, or...
Hang on, Joe. Hold on.
So do you use responsive design elements, so if it came in through a mobile, would the character adapt to the mobile screen, that kind of thing?
It is, I wouldn't say it's responsive in the sense that in the current form it changes as the actual browser size changes, but we have the character, we have mobile instances, tablet instances. This design treatment had to span as the front end of the marketing and communication stuff that you're seeing here, but also after someone logs in. So if you go to your mobile phone right now, you'll see a different experience, but it has the character there. He's everywhere. He's across the social channels as well. He's in their TV ads, everything. So we're kind of in this, we're at the beginning stages of seeing this come to life. And what's exciting about it to us is looking at how a personalization strategy inspired something creative that is actually serving a really important purpose for them.
Cool.
Any other questions?
Probably the last one, I think. Anyone? Awesome. Whenever you say last one, it always ends.
You guys are right on time. Thank you very much. Very well done. Simon and Scott, big hand.